It is the radio guide, Dr. Mike Prince, Monday morning edition of the Mike Prince Show. Panthers taking care of business on both sides of the hardwood against Mississippi Valley. They'll get a chance to come clean with Pine Bluff later on today. Magical basketball season for the men's program. We got some baseball updates throughout the SWAC. We have a listener's comment and reply session for you today, and a whole lot more. Let's keep it locked and loaded, and let's get ready to go. And without any further ado, we'll jump right into today's episode. And just as a friendly reminder, we want to let you know that you can follow us on our social media handles by the way of Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Mike Prince Show. The YouTube channel is Open Mic Broadcast Network. Our website is obnradio.com. Our 24-hour dial-in message line is 713-570-6736. Before we get into the basketball recap, we had some baseball over the weekend. Baseball and softball season has started off. Panthers concluding a tournament down in Beaumont, Texas. Kind of rough start for the Panthers, but it's still early. Right now, the Panthers coming in at 1-6 to start the season off. It's still early. Before we give you the recap of the Panthers, we'll go through some of the Southwestern Athletic Conference baseball scores over the course of the weekend. Jackson State lost 2 to Milwaukee. Game 1 was 3-1 in favor of Milwaukee, and Game 2 was 2-0. Texas Southern ended up losing a nail-biter in what was a really wild and wacky series. They end up losing the rubber match. At one point, I believe it was like 19-13, one of the games, and 7-1. Texas Southern did get a win over Kansas State, but they lost the rubber match by the score of 1-0 on Sunday's action. Alabama State and FAMU had a battle. FAMU coming out on top of that, winning by the score of 8-7. And Alabama State was able to beat Fort Wayne by the score of 10-9 in their doubleheader action on Sunday. Grambling State and Nicholls State got together, and Nicholls State was victorious over Grambling by the score of 16-5. And in Game 2, Nicholls State was able to knock off the Tigers by the score of 7-2. Arkansas Pine Bluff fell short against Abilene Christian by the score of 10-7. The early surprise of the young season were the Southern Jags under Coach Carrick Jackson. Southern played Northwestern State in a doubleheader, losing Game 1 by the score of 13-6. However, in the nightcap, Southern Jags found themselves victorious by the score of 7-5. Now the Panthers, as we mentioned, had a rough weekend, lost 7-6 to the Lamar Cardinals, the host school of the tournament. Actually lost that in the final at bat down in Beaumont, Texas. They then had 2 games paired up with Central Michigan, and Central Michigan was able to beat the Panthers by the score of 15-2 and 12-3. So the Panthers will be heading next to Nacogdoches to take on Stephen F. Austin. That game will be on Tuesday, and then they'll have a little time off, and they'll pick back up on the 27th against the Rice Owls. And, of course, we'll give you all baseball updates, softball updates, and a whole lot more right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Reach more potential customers through our sports radio package by dialing 832-213-8824. Well, the Panthers had no problem with Mississippi Valley on Saturday night. Women victorious 91-55. Panthers were lights out. Ford led the Panthers with 17 points, 5 blocks, and 4 rebounds as the Panthers staying in the thick of the conversation. They're 9-4 right now. 11-3 are the Southern Jags. Alabama State 9-4. Grambling at 9-5. Jackson State comes in at 8-6. Alabama A&M and Texas Southern are at 7-6. Mississippi Valley and Alcorn are tied at 3-11. And Arkansas Pine Bluff is bringing up the rear at 2-12. The Panthers will hit it hard against the Golden Lions on tonight, not trying to look over the situation. But if I were a betting man, I would feel pretty comfortable with the opportunities of the Panthers ending up in the winner's circle on tonight. So the Panthers getting things grooved up. Once we get done with Pine Bluff, you have that Alabama trip, and Alabama State right now on the heels of the Panthers. See if they can square up with them and then finish off Alabama A&M and come home for Alcorn and Southern. The way things are shaping up right now is going to be on that last day of the regular season when the Panthers are hosting the Jags. And how epic would that be for Sandy Pugh to win the regular season championship against her old squad? It's drumming up to possibly be a showdown. We'll keep you posted as things unfold. Meanwhile, on the men's side of things, the Panthers continue to stay hot. They had somewhat of a deeper struggle dealing with Valley, ending up winning in what some would say an unnecessary dogfight, 69-63. But before I go any further on there are some teams that just match up better with other teams. And for whatever the reason is, Valley has always matched up well with Prairie View. However, Coach Smith and the Panthers were able to maintain a strong run. Patterson led with 20 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 assists, which would qualify him for what we call a double-double. Panthers improved their record to 12-1 in conference play. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Texas Southern is at 10-3. Alabama State 8-5. Pine Bluff at 8-6. Grambling and Jackson State are tied at 7-7. 5-9 are the Alcorn Braves. Alabama A&M at 4-9. Southern at 4-10, and Mississippi Valley is at 3-11. We know that the Panthers have been in some magical territory with this run for the 2019 campaign. And we had some comments last week which kind of shook the nest, if you would, by our beloved Lonnie Davis. I want to say class of 1968 or 69. I forget which one it is. It might even be 72. But we know he's a senior Panther. And Lonnie has not been ashamed to speak his piece, which is what makes America great. We had a response to Brother Lonnie from a fellow Panther, football player, in fact, Brother Brandon Bell. We're going to hear from him right now. We'll come back with some of the responses and hopefully with an understanding of where both sides are coming from. We'll now switch over and hear from Brother Bell on the listening line. Of course, that number is 713-570-6736. Anyone from anywhere is open and invited to call in. And we'll now hear from Brother Bell.
Hey, Mike, this is Brandon Bell, alumni football player. Had a chance to be on this SWAC championship team. There's a couple of things. I listen to your show a lot, and I hear Lenny has something to always comment on. But one of the things that I want to point out is we forget how young our program is as far as the winning tradition after the 8-game losing streak. We've been put in several positions to do well, but just based upon our tradition and based upon outside sources, we struggled in the past, and with recruiting, not necessarily quality players, but, there are people guiding guys in different directions. But to say this, I honestly believe that if we're going to have a successful program in any sport that we have, the alumni base has to get behind that. I understand about wins and losses, and that's the most important thing. But in order for us to get the things done, we need to be able to speak about the university athletic program in a positive light. I fight all the time trying to get kids from the area to go to Prairie View, but one of the things that we run into, or I run into, as a previous coach, was having parents and having people in the community talk about the university and how it's a party school, and how our athletic programs are subpar, but people never take the opportunity to go visit. People never take the opportunity to talk about the program in a positive light. Now, I will say one thing: if we want to succeed, the best thing for us to do is to talk about the program and support the coaches that we have on board. Because what typically happens is we run our coaches away, and sometimes we run our coaches away, and then there are other times where we don't give our coaches the opportunity. We can't base our success off another program's success. What I mean by that, we can't expect Prairie View to be a Grambling or to be an Alabama of some sort when we're at a place where we have to compete, and I believe we're doing a great job. But we have to develop our own legacy of how we do things and stop trying to look at others and just compete. And how do we do that? We recruit. How else do we do that? We're ambassadors for the university, but overall, I think we just need to get behind the coaches that we have on board. Now, if our coaches don't do well, then that's the athletic director's job. Being a guy who had an opportunity to play for the university and graduate from the university and still stay close and in contact with the football program, one of the things that I see is we try to compare ourselves to other programs who have been successful. And I think sometimes it clouds our vision of being who we are as a university. What I don't want for us to lose sight of is that we have quality kids here, we have quality kids across the country, but I also don't want us to lose sight of how we do things in-house. As a Panther, we work hard. As a Panther, we strive to succeed, but we also we fight hard when it comes to athletics. I see day in and day out, we have kids who have an opportunity to come and help our programs out. But one of the things that the parents of those kids lose sight of is that it's educational based. They're there to get an education, that they're to succeed in the classroom. But outside of the classroom, we have issues because we have parents who think that our programs are subpar, are less than some of those of the Alabamas and other institutions like that. But I just want us to keep our eye on the prize as far as doing the things that we need to get done. Championships will come just in due time, and I think we're headed in the right direction because we have the right people in place. Only time will tell, but outside of that, I think whatever coach and whatever sport, we need to support them if the administration deems them capable of coaching our young athletes. So that's just my two cents. And just like I said before, just basically just, doing what we do and allowing time to tell, because I think we rush to get results, but sometimes, a foundation has to be built in order for our programs to be successful, in order for our kids to buy in.
And of course, we want to thank Brother Brandon for calling in on the message line. Remember, anyone is invited to dial in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 713-570-6736. Brother hit on a lot of key and excellent points, and I hope I'll be able to get through this in enough time for today's show. But I want to quickly run through some things. Let's go over what Brother Brandon had to respond in regards to Lonnie's comments. Lonnie's comments, what first triggered off things was he said it was somewhat an insult to compare the 2019 basketball program to that in the likes of the 1961-62 national champion basketball program. And that came up because we were making note that the Panthers had been in territory that had not been seen for over 58 years. And that is a fact. And some of the response that Lonnie had was that Prairie View had the upper echelon players at the time, upper echelon coaches at the time, and a lot of that is true. But to the defense of right now, and you've got to keep in contact with us the rest of this week, because we're going to hear exclusively from Clarence Stubblefield, from Wilbur Williams, and from James Gamble. These guys lived and breathed on that team. Gamble was a coach. He played and graduated in 57, but we talked to them firsthand, and you'll be very interested and excited to hear what they had to say about the 2019 edition of the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. But quickly now to Brother Brandon Bell's response. He made fact that Prairie View is in a second berth, if you would. The 80-game losing streak took a lot out of the sales, not just in football, but across the gamut when everyone and anyone thought about Prairie View A&M University athletics. The first thing that would come to mind was the losing streak. So there was a cloud hanging over the entire university in its identity. And it has been a long time coming. And the birth of the championship in 2009, turning that corner, and there's been some success. And for the record, Prairie View A&M University athletic program has had some of the most successful wins in the past 11 years. Not a lot of championships, but the most wins. And another point that Brother Bell hit on, they're graduating students left and right, which bottom line is what it's all about, making sure that these students graduate. Some other points is that Prairie View has a bad rep from the outside forces. And that's part and associated with, oh, you want to go with that losing program? You want to go over there with this, that, and the other? But that's something that we're going to have to work out and work through. Brother Brandon also made mention that there's been some coaches that have been run off, or we make life difficult for coaches. And I could agree to some degree, but not to the whole shebang. And the reason I say that is, to whom much is given, much is required. If you're going to be paid in the upper echelon of coaches throughout the conference, then should the university or should alumni not expect certain quality? If I want subpar performance, there's no saying you get what you pay for. If I go in to pay for a prime rib, don't give me a Big Mac. I want a prime rib. So, that's tomato. Another comment was, you can't expect Prairie View to operate like Grambling or Alabama. Now, I think I knew what you meant, but the expectations should be the same, should it not? If you're going to compete, you want to compete to win. Now, I do believe wholeheartedly that you do not lower your standards for the sake of winning, which is why Prairie View has identified that it's going to be a 275 for incoming student athletes, and they do have wraparound programs to address that. But that's the standard, that's the norm. Now it's up to us to find those students that fit what we require. So I don't quite understand about we can't expect Prairie View's program to be that of Grambling or Alabama's. Bottom line, in the infamous words, we play to win the games. And so we'll continue on with that one. Another one that I think is very, very poignant. You can't worry how other teams and other programs are operating. You have to stay true to who we are. Here is a $64,000 bonus question. Who are we? I've asked this question before. When it comes to the engineering paralysis of Prairie View, that's the first thing that jumps out. When it comes to the nursing program, that's one of the first things that jump out. But when it comes to athletics, what is it that jumps out that associate outsiders and even insiders with Prairie View A&M University athletics, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, soccer, rugby, tiddlywinks, whatever it is? What is that true identity? And I think if we be honest with ourselves, I think we're still somewhat still trying to find that identity. I know we put a lot of money and emphasis in football. I know that is a prime time sport in Texas. But when we think Prairie View Athletics, is football the first thing that jumps out to you? Another strong statement and comment that I thoroughly believe in. Brother Bell said we must have alumni support, alumni buy-in. And I could not agree with you more. However, it has to be a two-way street. I am going to renew my season pass, but there are a lot of people that I've interacted with who, just by the glance of some of our non-conference football games alone, are having an issue with a couple of schools that have been recently added. I understand the support factor. I understand the buy-in factor. I understand the whole enchilada. But we have to set the table where it would be inviting for people to want to come out and support. Personally, I think you should be able to support just on principle, whether you come to the game or not. Buy a lower tier season pass to support your school, to support the athletic department. And then there are other people who are saying there are way bigger fish to fry than to be worrying about the athletic side of things. There's a housing epidemic going on the campus of Prairie View. So it's one of those crosshairs, if you would. It's a lot more that we could go on and into. But Brother Bell, I want to thank you so much, man, for calling in. And some of you may want to join in on the conversation. The Facebook page is The Mike Prince Show. Twitter is The Mike Prince Show. And Instagram is The Mike Prince Show. Still got a lot to work out and figure out. But meanwhile, I got my PV purple and gold on display. And speaking of display, come out tonight, support the Panthers as they continue to press toward history. They'll take on the Golden Lions of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Don't forget, we got a big bonus week for you of coverage. Clarence Stubblefield, Wilbur Williams, and James Gable. The time has come for me to exit stage left. I am the radio guy, the Dr. Mike Prince. Remember, the YouTube channel is Open Mic Broadcast Network, and our website is obnradio.com. Until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.